So I have to start this video by saying I'm not an alcoholic, so please don't judge me. Yes, I do like a cheeky drink every now and then, but I most certainly love a boozy fragrance. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my top 5 boozy fragrances in my collection. Yes, people, what is going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's TJ, and over here on my channel, I discuss all things fragrances and the fragrance industry. So if there's any content you'd like for me to create, let me know down in the comments. And a quick one to anyone who's into their designer fragrances, you need to go and watch my latest YouTube video after this one, because I kind of discuss my top 10 designer fragrances, which ones I absolutely love and will always recommend to you guys. And I know I always say this at the start of the video, but if you're not already following me on TikTok or on Instagram, it's at TJ Talk Sense. Now let's get back onto the video. So at the start, I mentioned boozy fragrances, and some of you might not know what that actually means. Essentially, it's just an alcoholic accord in a fragrance. So some of the main ones used are like rum, whiskey, and cognac, but there's other lighter, fresher ways you can use a boozy accord as well, like vodka, you got champagne, you got mimosa and stuff like that. And for me, I'm a huge fan of a boozy accord in a fragrance. Like my taste, it just kind of elevates the scent I'm wearing a little bit more. When you dash in rum or whiskey and it's got a nice little smoky note in there, it's perfect for a date night. And I feel like they work amazingly well in the cooler weather. So lucky I live in London where it's not hot too often, so it just works. And I'm sure if you guys are watching this video, you like it as well. Now you guys know that my number one favorite fragrance, the GOAT, is right above me, bang in the middle. It is Angel Share by Kilian, and I think it is the best boozy fragrance of all time, but I didn't want to include it on this list because I've spoken about it so much. You guys don't want to hear me rambling on about it, so that is not on the list, but just know it's the best. Now this list is in no particular order, by the way, but this first one I picked up maybe 2 or 3 months ago now, and I think this is absolutely brilliant. This one here is called Andalusian Soul by the Merchant of Venice. And first of all, let's all appreciate how beautiful this bottle is, man. Look at the tint on that. You got the orange and the yellow and whatnot. And before we mention how this one smells, I do have to let you guys know that this is probably in the top 5 most underrated fragrances in my collection. And the Merchant of Venice is a niche fragrance house, and I'm telling you, price-wise for 100 ml, I think this is around 130 or 140, which is around the same price as designer fragrances getting released right now, like Dior Sauvage Elixir and stuff like that. So I think this is a bargain. Now the boozy accord in this fragrance is actually rum, and this is a gourmand fragrance, yes, but it is done quite differently to a lot of others where it's not super edible, super sweet and stuff like that. This one is very different. And when I've mentioned it before, I've said that this is like being in a fine dining restaurant where you're dressed up nice, you've had your starters, you've had your mains, and then you order a dessert of creme brulee. They bring it out to your table, they bring the little blowtorch thing, and they burn the top of it. This is what this smells like. It smells like a creme brulee, but because there's incense in this, it just gives it a nice little smokiness. And you guys already know the combination of rum and vanilla just works, because it's in one of my favorite fragrances of all time, which is Vanilla Diorama. But I feel like this one is super sexy, it's super seductive. That's why I would only really wear this on a date night, to be honest. And in terms of the price, like I mentioned at the beginning, in terms of performance to price, it is just amazing. You're gonna get 10, 11, 12 plus hours, and for the first few hours the projection is amazing. Now I think the Merchant of Venice is a super underrated house that in 2025 is definitely going to get a lot more love. So if you tried many fragrances from them, let me know which one's your favorite and which ones I should try next. Now the next one on this list I feel like I haven't spoken about or worn for ages, but when I first got it I was dropping video after video, so I feel like I got my point across. In my opinion, this is the best fragrance from the house of Mancera. It is none other than Mancera's Amore Caffe. Now, if you've not tried this fragrance and you like a boozy gourmand, then there's definitely something wrong with you, I'm telling you. And how I mentioned in Andalusian Soul, it was the note of rum we had. In this one, you have a lovely note of amaretto. Just to let you guys know, I do have a separate video of this one on my channel, so I'll pin it somewhere above me. But to summarize Amore Caffe, this is absolutely amazing, man. Obviously being cafe in the name, in the opening, you get like a roasted coffee bean. Like, you know when you walk into like a Starbucks or a Costa, you get that kind of vibe. But then as it dries down, you get this like almost sweet syrup like scent, which is just lovely. And then as it dries down further, you get like a Ben & Jerry's cookie dough ice cream. This slaps. Now I know there's loads of boozy fragrances that when you try them, they blow your head off. You're like, wow, I feel like I'm drunk right now. And Amore Caffe is definitely not the one. This one's a little bit more subtle, and I feel like the amaretto in this essentially adds to the sweetness of that kind of pancake syrup or toffee-like accord in there. So if you don't like it super boozy, but you like that touch in the background, then I would go for Amore Caffe. And you guys already know, when it comes to longevity and projection on this one, it is amazing. I feel like there's only one better fragrance from Mancera that smells just as good and projects a little bit better, which would be Tonka Cola, which everyone knows and loves. But I feel like with this one, you're still getting that 12 plus hours, which is amazing, but you do have to like a sweet fragrance. If you don't like a sweet fragrance, do not go out and blind buy this. Therefore, order yourself a sample and try it. but I feel like if you do and you like that gourmand, you'll love this. Now this next one, I don't think a lot of people would have heard of, but if you have and you know this one, then you're an absolute G, I'm telling you. This one is from the house Pierre Goulam. I picked this one up recently. Let me quickly open up for you guys if I can. This is from Pierre Goulam, and this fragrance is called Liquer Charnelle. Now this one's only stocked here in the UK in Bloom Perfumery in Covent Garden, if I'm not mistaken. If it's somewhere else, let me know. But I feel like this wasn't love at first sniff for me. I did try this one 2 or 3 times, but then I was like, why do I keep coming back to sample this? I've already worn it once, twice, and then I actually wore the sample of this one on New Year's Eve last year, had a great time, and straight after that, when you get those kind of memories with a scent, I had to go back and purchase. And now if I'm not mistaken, in Liquer Charnelle, I think the note is either rum or cognac. I'll double check and I'll put it on the screen. I think it's cognac because the lady kind of described it to me like as sort of similar to Angel Share. And this one's a little bit hard to describe because it's a little bit complex to me. You do have the boozy note in there, but as well, it's got a little bit of sweetness in there which works, but this one is very spicy. And this one's like if Angel Share and Spice Bomb Extreme by Victor and Rolf had a baby, this is what it would create. Like it's got that very spiciness, and it's got like some vanilla in the base, which is obviously Spice Bomb Extreme. Then you have the boozy notes, and I think there's even caramel in there, so you get a little bit of sweetness. So if you're a fan of the designer fragrance Spice Bomb Extreme and Angel Share, and you want something in the middle, Liquer Charnelle is the one. Now for me, this one I'm only associating with special occasions. Even a bottle, it just gives me an all black attire kind of vibe, shirt on, feeling yourself. It's gonna make you a little bit more confident. So that's where I'm gonna rock it. And especially after wearing it on New Year's, I've kind of associated it with like big occasions. So this is not gonna be a daily driver. I might rock it like on a daily basis in the winter, but I'm not just gonna put this on for casual stuff. That's just me, I'm a little bit weird like that. But I'm due to deep dive into Pierre Goulam Paris because they have some great fragrances. I tried one recently called something Madone or something like that. I don't know what it was, but it was absolutely beautiful. It was like a chocolate fragrance. So I'm definitely going to try some more. So if any of you guys have experience with any of these fragrances, I beg you, let me know. Now, just for a second, I want to get off those darker, boozier fragrances. So we had rum, we had amaretto, and we had cognac as well. Now again, we're something a little bit more fresh. This one is from Stefan Humbert Lucas, and it is called Pink Boa. And I have to keep it real with you guys. The first few times that I tried Pink Boa, I had no idea there was a boozy note in this fragrance. It wasn't until I went with my guy and then was trying them, and then they was reading the notes and they said vodka. And I was like, vodka in a fragrance? That's hella weird. This is the first time I've kind of experienced it. Then I looked at the notes online and I was like, yeah, it's got vodka in it. So I didn't know, and it's not one that's super prominent that you're going to tell straight away. Now you see, when it comes to smell with this one is super refreshing, it's super juicy, and then it's got that little touch of airiness in it that just lifts it a little bit, and it kind of reminds a lot of people of a fruity pink lemonade, which people describe it as. And it actually reminds me of something I had yesterday. So I went to Five Guys, and you know, with the drinks machines, they have it all, the whole selection. I literally press on Sprite and I get Sprite raspberry, I get Sprite grape, I get orange, vanilla, everything. If you don't know about that, unfollow me because you're not a real one. But this is what Pink Boa reminds me of. So in here at the top, you've got bergamot and raspberry, which give it this nice, sweet, juicy fruitiness. Have to put my nose on it. It almost smells like sherbet a little bit. That's what it reminds me of. Then obviously in at the mid, that's where the boozy accord comes in with the vodka. And then in the base is something I wouldn't have put in this fragrance. And you got the note of musk. Musk is something, to me, it brings down a fragrance a little bit in most occasions and makes it a little bit too dry for my liking anyway. But I feel like the musk in this is done perfectly, and it kind of makes the scent linger a little bit. Now, the only negative with Pink Boa for me has to be the performance, because it's just not good enough. Like in terms of longevity and projection's not too bad, but I'm getting like 5, pushing 6 hours, and that's actually me being nice. And I feel like if you see someone reviewing this and they say, oh, they're getting 12, 24 hours, it surely has to be capped, because this scent DNA can't really do that. And when you look at the price, this is £175 for 50 ml, which if it was a 100 ml bottle, it would be 350, which would cost more than your Ombre Nomas by LV, your Imagination, which perform really well. So for £175 for 50 ml, I expect a little bit better. Now, last but not least, we have the newest addition to boozy fragrances in my collection. And some people might argue, and by some I actually mean me, that this is actually one of the greatest boozy fragrances ever created. This one here is from Nasa Matto. I'll give you guys a close up. This is called Baronda. I've had this one on my radar for so long. I must have tried it literally every single time I go out, but there's always something I want a little bit more. And when I'm like £130 for 30 ml, do I really want it? But the fact that I kept sampling it, I'm like, I have to get this at some point. Then when I went to Paris, I picked it up for cheap. Now, this one's not complex at all, and sometimes you just don't have to do too much. But what they've done here is done to perfection, in my opinion. It is literally whiskey and woods, and I feel like the cap and everything just complements the kind of scent you're going to get when you take it off and you put it to your nose. So just imagine like an old age barrel of whiskey, or back in the days, those old school retro gentlemen's clubs, when you go outside, it's dark inside, a little bit smoky and light, where the grungers would go. This is what Baronda reminds me of. And I'm telling you, if I poured this one into a cup and blindfolded you, you would think this is a whiskey on the rocks. It's that mad. And even though I think the fragrance is great and it's a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, I feel like what would elevate it a little bit more is a touch of a citrus in the opening. So if there was like a little orange in the opening that you pick up for the first 5 or 10 minutes, where it actually reminds you of a cocktail, I think it would make it a little bit better. But you know what, I'm not a perfumer. For me, this is a winter date night fragrance in my opinion. And as soon as it gets cool outside, this is what I'm putting on in the evening. And at the time of me recording this video, Kilian Paris are releasing a new fragrance called Old Fashioned, which I hope it's on the same level of this or a little bit better. And if any of you guys have tried it, because I know a few people have already, let me know. Is it good enough? Is it worth the cop? Is it better than Baronda? Is it better than Angel Share? I need to know. So they were my top 5 boozy fragrances in my collection right now. And I did miss quite a few off of the list that I need to quickly give a little honorable mention to. Obviously Vanilla Diorama, which is stunning. I thought I'd give it a day off, to be honest. Then we got a new addition to my collection, which is Bohobico's Wet Cherry Liqueur, which is stunning. And then we got Guerlain L'Homme EDL Parfum, or EDP, which have a lovely amaretto note in there as well. But I want you guys to let me know, what is your favorite boozy fragrance in your collection, or what's your favorite of all time that you haven't managed to pick up yet? Let me know. So I hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure you hit subscribe if you got this far. And if you're not already, follow me on the socials at TJ Talk Sense on Instagram and TikTok. Drop your boy a follow, man. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, love for the love, my people.